All right, welcome back to another episode of the Dude Real Estate Show. I'm here with Billy. Billy, are you warmer than last week?
I am. Can't argue with that. It is definitely warmer. It's kind of almost shorts weather out there. It's like 10 degrees.
I know. Yeah, I think it's going to get up into the teens. So
Yeah.
we're ready to go swimming. Um, yeah, so that's good. That's good. It was pretty brutal for a couple weeks. Okay, today we're going to talk about networking in real estate and why that's important. I guess
Mhm.
we should tell everyone that we met through networking. Is that right?
Yeah, you could say so.
Yeah, I mean, it was as simple as you were at the same meetup, and I don't know exactly which meetup we started talking at, but it was probably the second or third one I remember being at, and we struck up a conversation, and then everyone after that we were chatting to some degree. So yeah, that's where me and Billy met, and we'll definitely talk about meetups a little bit. But so we're gonna kind of dive pretty deep into this because I actually wrote an article for BiggerPockets a little while ago. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to kind of follow some of the points on there. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits. There's 7 benefits that I've laid out. There's probably more, but and then some tips as well. And I wrote this from the perspective of an introvert, since I am an introvert. Billy, I assume you are as well. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
So yeah, we're 2 introverts and yet we're out there networking. And I just want to, let you guys know that it's not that scary, but all the same principles apply, whether you're introvert, extrovert. Networking, super important. So, when it comes to real estate investing or just real estate in general, think about how many people are involved in a single transaction. If you've ever bought or sold a house, there's a ton of moving pieces. You've got
Yeah.
the yourself, you've got maybe your spouse or a business partner, you've got the lender, you've got a realtor, you've got people under the lender that are doing the underwriting, you've got a home inspector, you've got maybe other inspections you have to do as well. Um, you've got your bank that you're working with. So that there's just a lot going on in a typical real estate transaction. And so it's important to realize that up front and that you kind of need to have a team. And essentially when you go through the process of buying a home or selling a home, you have a team because you can't do it all. And then, I mean, you have the title company, you might have an attorney. There's a lot of different people involved in a real estate transaction. So the first benefit to networking is really building a team. Um, when we bought our first property, it was like, okay, we had our lender in place. I was the realtor on that. So I didn't need to find a realtor, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, we needed to find a contractor though. That was the biggest pain there. And we ended up firing that contractor. He didn't get any more work from us after that, but found another one through networking. Um, so you're building your team. And the nice thing is once you kind of are comfortable with the people on that team, like if you have a really good experience with everyone, you don't have to repeat the process unless they exit the business for some reason. So you have your go-to people. Now it's nice to always meet maybe a second or third backup just in case they exit um, the industry or maybe there's something else that happens. But building a team is benefit number 1. Benefit number 2 is kind of obvious, but you get to meet new people. So, without meeting new people, you're not really going to grow your network. There might be existing people in your network that are helpful in real estate. Maybe your aunt is a realtor or, your dad is a lender or whatever it is. There could be some people in your sphere of influence, but it's nice to meet new people. And whether or not they can help you directly with a transaction, they can help you just grow as an investor. They just might have more knowledge than you, so, or maybe they made a mistake, and they share their story at a meetup and you're like, oh, definitely want to avoid that
Yeah.
one. So number 3 is developing partnerships. So, I would definitely not be here today with 28 units and having flip properties and things like that without good partnerships. And so I have, a very good partner who's my buddy on the rental side of things. And then I've had really good money partners when it came to flipping houses. And then, you might do some JV deals or something like that, just one-off things, helping each other out. So, developing partnerships is pretty key to real estate. And especially if you want to get anything really big, like apartment syndication or something like that, you're going to be using strategic partnerships to take down stuff like that, unless you just have, 20 million in the bank or something like that. So benefit number 4 is gaining knowledge. When you're around these smart people, say at a meetup, or when you're out looking at houses with a realtor, I mean, they have knowledge that you don't have, and you start to gain some of that knowledge, especially if you ask good questions. And, they kind of, you probably heard this before, but you're kind of the average of the 5 people you hang around most. And so I prefer to hang around smart people if possible. So that makes me smarter. I'd rather be the dumbest guy in the room. So it helps to network that way. So think, does this person have special knowledge that I don't have? What do they know that I don't know? How can they, how can I learn from them? Benefit number 5 is getting deals done. I think we've seen this in our networking group time and time again, where there are people that come together, whether they're investors, agents, lenders, private money lenders, whatever, and people get deals done. It's like, hey, I've got this property over here, motivated seller, but I don't have the cash. Someone offers a bridge loan and they're able to flip it or wholesale it or whatever it is. So that's really important, I think. Benefit 6 is you build your credibility through networking. So even if you know nothing about what you're trying to network in, if you show up time and again, you're building your credibility because people see you, they get to know you, they know that you're interested in the space. So if you are interested in networking, like, don't make it a one-off thing, like, unless you really have a terrible experience or something like that. But, you're going to build your credibility as you participate in the group. Benefit number 7 is you are garnering support. So this kind of goes back to some of the getting deals done and things like that, meeting new people, but you get support from the group because everyone's been through different things, especially tough things in real estate. It doesn't always go smoothly. And so it's nice to, in a sense, commiserate with other people, but also, like I said earlier, learn from other people's mistakes. And maybe you can share, like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with right now. Like for a lot of new investors, it might be analysis paralysis. What do I need to do to get over that? So you get a lot of support from the group. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like a group counseling session.
Yeah, I'd even build off of that. It kind of holds you accountable. Like if you have to keep coming to this thing, like say it's once a month or something, and you don't really have anything to show for it, it can be, defeating, it can be, but it also can be something that helps you get to that, okay, what do I need to do to have something next time I show up?
Right.
Figure out what that next step is.
Yeah, I think you get the motivation, the inspiration, and the accountability, which are all really important to achieving like any type of goal. Because if you keep showing up and you're not really offering anything and you're not really taking any action, that's okay at first, but eventually you're going to have to do something, right? So anyway, okay, so those are the 7 benefits. I'm going to get into some resources real quick here. We've been talking primarily about meetups. That's one of the best ways to network. Sometimes you just network naturally within your environment. Like I said, if you call up a realtor, you go see some houses, or your friend is an agent or something like that, and you can go see some properties. But meetups are really great. And the real estate investor community is pretty good at meetups, I would say. For 2 reasons. I think because of the fact that it does take a lot of people to sometimes put a deal together or to learn from each other, to partner with people. I think the other reason is maybe not as good, but there is some self-serving organizations out there where they want to sell programs or coaching or things like that, which is not the worst thing in the world, but sometimes they exist because they want to upsell a certain demographic into a program or something like that. So do be wary of those. But most meetups, you can tell pretty quickly, like, just by researching them online, what kind of meetup it is. So there's, to my knowledge, like where we are in Madison, Wisconsin, there's 2 meetups. There's ours, which is a little smaller. When before the pandemic, it was like 30 to 40 people every other week. And then there's a bigger RIA, which I had never been to. I still haven't been to, but my understanding that's quite a bit bigger, probably 100 people plus. Have you ever been to that one?
No, I've heard about it, but I had not been to it.
Okay, yeah.
That was a little more like they were trying to sell you a little bit more.
Right, and that was what I had found too, just from some other people in my own research, and I wasn't really interested in that. And I like kind of the smaller group anyway.
Same.
Yeah, so meetups are great. So where can you find meetups? BiggerPockets is one of the best places because that's obviously the big real estate investing website. And if you go to their events tab, you can just see what's around you. Obviously right now, because of COVID, there might not be in-person meetups in your area, but a lot of them are still, like ours are doing Zoom meetups. And so you can still find those opportunities there. So that's a great way to do it. Another way is meetup.com. And a lot of the RIAs will post on there, or other groups. One thing I want to say before I move on to some of the other resources is, if you don't like the meetups in your area, or there isn't one close enough to you, I would highly suggest, even if you're brand new, to start your own. That's actually what I did. Back in Illinois, the closest one was like 45 minutes away. I didn't really want to drive that far to go to a meetup. I wanted something more in my area, and I just didn't want to drive that far. So I started my own, and it was really beneficial because I met a lot of great people. We partnered on some deals. We helped each other out. It was just fun. I kept it pretty casual. Like once in a while I'd bring in a guest speaker, and sometimes I would talk about certain topics, but we kept it pretty casual and just chatted. And it was usually pretty small, usually about 10 people, something like that. But, and then since I was an agent at the time, I got a couple of deals out of it as well, just on the buy side or the sell side. So, but back to some of the resources, you can go to conferences. Conferences are, again, not really going on. There will probably be some this year, but some of them are moving on online as well. These can be more expensive, but if it's really like a niche that you're interested in, and it could be a good networking opportunity, it might be good to think about a conference. Another thing is social media. So with social media, it's pretty easy to find people in the real estate investing space, especially if you just go to like Facebook or Instagram and you search hashtags or whatever, or Twitter, and you can find people pretty quickly. Or if you listen to some podcasts, they're pretty easy to find. So that's another way to network. And then the last way is just your sphere of influence. You've got people on your phone, you've got people on Facebook or Instagram, and just reach out to them and just be like, hey, look, I'm interested, and I'm learning about, and I'm doing real estate investing. Just wanted to let you know that, in case you know of anyone else that's interested in it, or maybe people have a house to sell or something like that, and it's worth reaching out to your sphere of influence that way. So then I just want to go through a few tips before we kind of talk a little bit more about this, but just some tips about how to network effectively. Because I think some people get kind of scared at this point. They're like, okay, yeah, I know I have to network, especially if you're an introvert. Like, what do I have to talk?
Yeah. How do I do it well?
How do I do it well? So my first tip is just to listen, especially if you're brand new to a group. I think the first 2 or 3 times I went to the group here, I just sat back and listened for the most part. And especially in the one-on-ones, just listen to people. Like, people want to be heard, and just say, hey, you just tell them the truth. I'm new. I'm looking to do a deal, but I'm just here to learn. What's your story? Just something like that. Now you will probably have to share though in a group. So like in our group, we usually go around, everyone introduces themselves, what they do, what they're into, maybe their most recent project or what they're looking for. So, anywhere from 30 seconds to, some people do kind of ramble on sometimes, but It's a couple minutes to just kind of share where you're at. And that's a good way to kind of get to know people. And then you might be able to identify like, oh, hey, I want to do wholesaling and that guy's doing wholesaling. So I definitely, once the group wraps up and we're just kind of chatting afterwards, I'm going to go talk to him. So now this definitely doesn't apply. This was in my article, but handshake and eye contact. So someday you will be able to shake someone's hand again, I promise. It's a little harder to maybe make eye contact online, but yes, when you're meeting someone, have a firm handshake, make eye contact, don't, stare at your shoes. And then be friendly. This is kind of common sense, but people want to do deals and be friends with people who are friendly, not with someone who's, Oscar the Grouch. One thing that I think is kind of interesting was, I'm not exactly sure why I put this in the article, but business cards. Should you have a business card or not? And in my opinion, I think business cards are totally passé. Like, do you have like any business cards lying around from other people? Like, yeah. I when I was a realtor, I kept all the business cards because it was nice to have kind of a pile. I would kind of use those as a go-to for some referrals at times, or as a jumping out place. But for the most part, you can just be like, here's my number, here's my phone, put your number in there. And that's a great way to just get people's information right away. I don't think you need a business card necessarily in today's world with, and I think there's some digital business cards out there too, and apps and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All right. So I did want to touch, just because this is in the article and maybe there are some introverts out there like us, it can be scary, but, basically going back to the listening component, that's kind of our superpower. A lot of times is we're good listeners. And so just make sure that you're using that. But don't forget that you also have something to offer. Whether you're brand new or not, you might be really good at, say, marketing or web design or writing or whatever it is. You might be good at something that someone else might need help with, and you can kind of trade skills there. And then lastly, I just kind of say, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. So from a hardcore introvert, networking is actually, it's fun, and don't be scared to get out there and do it. And you meet a lot of great people. So anyway, that is kind of the article in a nutshell. That's kind of all my tips and the benefits that I see. Is there anything that, that you get out of networking, or that maybe I missed from here that you think might be a challenge, or something that might be, I don't know, something else that you think about when you are looking to network with people?
Yeah, I think just to build up, I think everything you have is really good. And for me, being, again, an introvert like you, I think what was really great was just being able to be like, okay, I'm going to be here. That's all I need to do. This is show up. Like, if I can show up 3 times in a row, like, I'm winning. Like, I'm doing better than, 50% of the other people, because I'm actually here, probably more. So for me, it was always about like, just get in the routine of going. And eventually you're going to start to take on kind of a role of something that you're good at. It's going to stand out. And people are going to start to recognize that you're showing up and you're committed to this. And that's when like those relationships are really going to grow, because they know like you're going to be there when the going gets tough. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, for sure. And, one thing I noticed, because you were showing up, I was showing up, you always shared that, you weren't invested in real estate yet, but you want to be. But the thing you brought to the table that really no one else had, that to my knowledge, was that you had purchased a business. And so I'm sure people came up to you and were like, what was that like? Is buying a business hard? Like, how did you get the funding? Things like that. So, it gives you a talking point there. So like when you are sharing in the group, like just share your story, what you're doing. And you might be surprised, like some of the other connections and someone might say, oh, I just sold a business, and so people might connect with you on different things, not real estate related necessarily.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing.
Like, right. Yeah, exactly.
Add those things to your network is not a bad thing.
Exactly. So do you have any final tips for everyone out there? Like, Like what are you doing right now to network during, this kind of time when we're not really networking to some degree? I know some people, myself included, we really miss it, but I feel like because it's maybe a Zoom meeting or something like that, I'm not as likely to go to it, even though it's more convenient.
Mhm.
Um, what are your thoughts? It's just kind of tough right now.
Yeah, I think right now is a really tough time to be like a honest networker because it's like you said, it's easier to do, but at the same time, it's less like real. I don't know how else to explain it except real. Because when you're with someone in the same room as them, like you can read their body language, you can tell how interested they are when you talk about a certain topic, and you can't really tell on a Zoom call. So right now, some of the things I've been doing is calling. Specifically, I've been talking with lenders right now because for me, yeah, in my real estate area that I'm in, I need to get financing figured out. That's the big thing for me. So whatever you're stuck on, I think right now, there's someone who has a solution out there. So don't be afraid to, look up someone on Google and like Google, hey, lenders in this area, and reach out and see who is active and who wants to talk to you. And those are the people that you probably want to be involved with.
Yep, absolutely. Very cool. Well, I think those are good words to end on. So everyone, thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you in the next video.